Hi, everybody. Very nice to be here. Thanks for being here. I'm Stavros Vassos. I'm one of the two founders of Helvia and CEO, and I'll be sharing some thoughts about some talk about Gen AI that we have recently, whether it's a bubble or not. First, some things about me. Well, I'm here in my space suit as of the theme of generative AI summit this year. My background is in AI. I did my master's and PhD a long time ago in the University of Toronto, before LLMs, before even machine learning and neural nets were actually in domination in AI. And in the last 7-8 years or so, I've been following AI through the lens of Helvia, where we deliver solutions that are conversational AI for enterprises and more recently agentic AI for enterprises. So I'll try to quickly say 3 things today. One is some thoughts about this debate, whether this is a bubble or not. That's good, yeah. Okay, sure. I think they can hear me, it's fine. The second one about what's in it for us in different levels of where we belong. And lastly, some more technical thing about what I think is interesting and lies ahead. Okay, so it's interesting also that this is happening today, almost exactly 3 years ago, 3 years after Gen AI was introduced to us through ChatGPT or to most of the world. Essentially, ChatGPT shocked most of the people and said, oh, there's something we can do now with AI that's new. And there's many milestones within these 3 years. I'll just mention a few that are useful for the line of discussion today. A few months later, GPT-4 came out that shocked most of the community again with the capabilities. Then not so big shocks happened, but still many things happened. One other highlight is almost 1.5 years ago, Claude 3.5 came out by Anthropic that became the king of coding and even contributed to becoming coding a big use case. And just looking at the last couple of weeks even, we see frontier models getting updated, getting the latest versions, the most powerful open source model coming out, and more. And it's undoubtedly that the LLMs have become a cornerstone of a new tech stack, and there's all sorts of things. The last row just shows some LLM providers, but there's pages and pages of this new technology that comes in. And if you're a technologist, that's amazing. If you're a little bit outside of that, it might be a little bit confusing. And the question here is, in a higher level, what does that mean? How can we navigate into that? And there's a wild spectrum of expectations and many camps saying that AI can do this, AI can do that. Here's 2 perspectives we'll run through quickly. The existential vision of AI and the industrial revolution vision of AI. According to the first one, the AI will bring us what's called general AI, like artificial general AI. And there's many definitions for that. Here's one. Pick any person you want, give them a task, and if there's a system that you can give the same task to it, the same tools, digital, and it can do better or same, then you have AGI. And that's a useful definition, then people think about it, and there's all thoughts about if we get to that, then we get unbounded intelligence, it will bootstrap itself, it will be in danger because it will probably get extinct. And to be honest, as let's say somebody looking into AI from an academic point of view, a research point of view, I never thought of that as really being close to us. But there's so many people in this field, experts, that they think this way or the other way, that it's definitely something that we need to consider. These are just some highlights. There's Geoffrey Hinton as one of the godfathers of AI, and Yann LeCun opposing things that one believes we have just a few years before it becomes a real problem for us. That's what Hinton says, and Yann that says this is a dead end. It's not going to AGI at all. In any case, to put it in perspective, you need to have some way to think about that, right? And I copied here some statement by the CEO of OpenAI that said that recently, a few months ago, intelligence of an AI model roughly equals to the log of resources you use to train it and run it. And at the same time that it appears you can spend more money and get more AI, more or less. And coming from somebody in the field, then it's probably a more optimistic view, but still let's get this optimistic view and unpack it a little bit. let's say, important thing there is the log that was mentioned. So if I can unpack it and say it the other way, if we kind of hand-wavy say we want to double intelligence that we have now with these models, we might need 10 times the resources. And if we want to triple the intelligence, again, in a high-level way, we might need 100 times the resources. So if we think we are many, many multiples away from what we believe is this vision of AGI, then we might actually run out of resources or energy or anything. And just to get to the first, let's say, observation is that overall there are indications, clear indications that if we continue pushing what we're doing now, we get better models, we get better AI. But overall, if we are far or close to getting this more philosophical, let's say, end game, it's really a gut feeling. And there are people that believe this way or the other way. I think we can set it aside and think of more, let's say, practical things. And here's another way to look at that, the industrial revolution vision of AI, which says that, yeah, you know, AI will bring us digital workers. So the same way you hire people, you can hire also digital workers to do things for you. Very sci-fi, right? And still it's like the less exotic thing that we think AI might bring to us. And there's many cases. I've just highlighted a few. I want to go after them. The first case is the personal assistant case. So you hire a personal assistant. So arguably, ChatGPT and most of the things you talk to by big providers, Gemini, Claude, etc., are personal assistants. And they are helping us. They are changing the way we work. And just judging by just OpenAI, that recently there was some report showing their numbers, there's 800 million regular users right now on ChatGPT, and that contributes to 70% of the revenue of OpenAI. And I think judging just from OpenAI and this ChatGPT application, personal assistant, we can safely say that this is probably one of the most the biggest use case for Gen AI, and that it's already changing our lives. It's changing the way we search, the way we buy, the way we read and write documents. It's changed that completely. And that's why I put some thunders there. So not bubbly like the previous one. This is going to the direction that, yeah, it's maybe not a bubble. Then there's the business automation case. Like, let's replace people that do work in businesses. Again, this is the holy grail, let's say, in this new era. And there's mixed signals there. So we see Gartner and many other publications a couple of years ago saying, peak customer service, right? 20 to 30% of the people would be laid off because their work will be done by AI agents, AI systems. And then the same, maybe this was actually a couple of months ago, saying that by the next year, 50% of those organizations that said and were trying to replace humans will stop that. And they report that the reason is that their complexities, and it's not easy to just hire, systems and do that work. Nonetheless, I think to understand a little bit more, and I'll just go very fast, it's interesting to think about what is it that we are putting in place of humans. And there's this AI agent idea, and there's a lot of talk about it. And it's almost a mythical thing, right? It can do everything. We can make it do the work we want. And I have a very practical definition that I like, that we can use today about what an AI agent is. And it's very simple. It says, if you're not sure what's going to do next, then it's probably an agent. Okay? And why I mean that, when you talk to an LLM, you don't know exactly what it's going to say, for sure. But you know what it's going to do. It's an LLM, it's typing text. Now, if you have an agent, most probably it has different things it can play with. And if you don't know what it's going to do, then most probably it's an agent because you gave that autonomy to it to do it. And you see the paradox here, that there's these things, they operate on a trade-off. From one side, they're powerful. On the other side, they're not predictable. And you can't have both. Today, maybe a couple of years later, we may be able to have both, but today you can't have both. So I have put some thunders there as well, so no bubbly, because we've been working with this kind of cases many years now, and with agents the last couple of years, and we know that with careful preparation, you can get ROI and meaningful gains, but you have to place it inside, let's say, a business AI transformation lens, not in the lens of, yeah, let's buy some system instead of a person. Okay, last thing I just want to briefly say something about is coding. So coding has become a very large niche for Gen AI. It's a big market, it's a big use case. There's all sorts of tools, I'm not gonna go over them. And what's interesting is that it's very similar to business automation. We want to replace software engineers or QA assistants or QA engineers, etc. But the difference here is that this is a much more structured environment, and it can iterate much faster, and we see gains already. It's changing things. Well, there's, let's say, preliminary results that show that it can help make software engineering go faster. It helps mostly senior people because they know and they can judge what's happening, but it can help also people on early stages in their careers to bootstrap and go faster. So overall, about the first part of whether it's a bubble or not, I would say with this direction, even though we don't get to replace and put systems instead of people yet, and probably not very soon, still, even if AI stopped progressing today, we have tons and tons of practical cases that we can work on and make things go faster. And that's why there's some thunders here. By the way, the timer started 5 minutes less, so if we started at 15, so I'm gonna keep on for a little bit more. Okay, right, so second part, what's in it for you? How do you navigate in this, let's say, new world? And let's say that again, the technology is real, it's there, it's changing stuff all over, it's not gonna go away, and some people call it the decade of agents. So we have a decade to see how we will shape, understand, incorporate in our culture, in our social way of understanding things and working, how to incorporate AI agents. And I'll just go and briefly say one thought for each of these, let's say, stances. Like if you're a person, if you are an SME, and if you're a large organization or an enterprise, how does that maybe you can gain of it today? Some thoughts. First of all, at a personal level, I think it's incredible. It's as if all the labs in the world are building flying cars and spacecrafts, and they give you a kit and say, try it at home. Just go, play, crash it, do whatever you want for free. So I think it's a new technology that, for various reasons, we can discuss that separately, it's at your hands. And of course, it's not so easy to say, yeah, you can do everything. It's not easy to start, but I think everyone should be playing with that, should have their hands on. And in particular, if you don't know where to start coding. If you don't know how to code, it's a very nice way to get into coding. You can do all sorts of stuff. And by the way, I actually vibe coded just while I was playing this presentation, a game that reminded me of Bubble, if you're of that age group, through the Bubble discussion and everything. And you can find it here. And there's also an Easter egg if you get to finish it. Okay, now what's in it for you if you're an SME? Okay, so that's a kind of tricky, because if, an SME typically doesn't have the budget to get the resources and the people to get something tailored for them, right? But at the same time, now is the time that most of the service providers, most of the tools, the software as a service applications you can get, they are developing, if they have not developed already, their own AI agent in the system, so in-app. And those you can get sometimes even for free, and some other times just in very cost-economic ways. So, for example, just one example, Atlassian just 3 or 4 months ago released what it's called Rovo, that helps you with Jira tickets and everything. So that's one of the things that SMEs can work on now and get accustomed to what they need, what works and what doesn't, so that they can follow along. Okay, and then how about large organizations or enterprises? Well, first of all, the specialized AI agents, this thing that you can buy, digital workers, that's for you, right? This is for you, that you, as organizations, have the budgets to actually do all the footwork to make that work through the technology. And I guess it's the time that the build versus buy typical decision that large organizations have comes down to deciding how an organization is going to become AI ready or AI native. And there's many ways to do that, with internal resources, with trusted partners, with hybrid approach, and it's the right time to do that. It's already a much more mature ground to that. And by the way, we've been working with enterprises for quite some time now, and there's many other companies here that do that. It's a great place to discuss that and start the discussion going if you're not already in that path. Okay, and I'm going to use another 3 minutes or so to talk about some thoughts. There's so many things that lie ahead. I'm going to be just slightly more technical, and I'll start with something that this came out maybe 1.5 years ago. I found it very, very nice. I'm just going to read it. It's from a guy who's very prominent in this field. The word I came up with to describe the strange fact that LLMs can both perform extremely impressive tasks while simultaneously struggle with some very dumb problems. Jagged intelligence. So instead of general intelligence, we have jagged intelligence, like of weird intelligence. And here's one example. There were, the typical examples here is if you asked a year ago an LLM which is larger, 9.11 or 9.8, many of them would say 9.11. And that's because they would perceive it as probably a section or even a section in the Bible, but not really the number 9.11. And there's many examples, the counting hours and other stuff. But here's an example of today, of actually yesterday. I tried it yesterday. If you use any of these powerful visual models and tell them to do a transparent version of what you give them, this is actually one of the first images I had in the presentation. Most of the times what they do is they generate something that looks like it's transparent, but in reality it has black and white checkers. And why is that? It's because in many, many online tools that you can browse and find transparent images, the viewer is showing it in this way, but doesn't really show the actual PNG. So these systems have been trained to understand that transparent means I just put lots of checkers on the back, right? And for me, there's always a reality check that anything we see, everything we see comes down to a very, particular core of technology that does pattern matching. Just matches lots of data that you've seen online and tries to extrapolate from that. That's a good thing, it's not a bad thing. And what I wanted to bring in contrast to that is that, I've been around in AI for a while. I've seen an AI winter, I've seen an AI spring, I've worked in many, many directions, and I've worked also in the symbolic side of AI. There's been two different, let's say, camps of AI, and they've been fighting for many years. Before the statistical ML approach was winning, it was tough to publish in the conference because the other camp would say, no, that's not good enough. Now it's the opposite way. There's almost none in prominent conferences. It's very difficult to publish if you're not doing exactly LLMs. And there's so much you can do in the, let's say, combination in the intersection of that. So I need to finish in the next minute. I'll just say that here's one example. Many agents now, they need to have tools to operate, and they also need to have memory to remember things. And typically what's happening now is that you put another LLM to think about what to think. You to think about what to remember, to think about how to update your scrapbook of memories, while at the same time there's a huge amount of literature about knowledge representation and belief revision that puts structure, rules, methods, algorithms, and everything to do that, and it's yet not explored. It's almost as if there's a dichotomy, and we are also exploring some things to that direction, and I believe that this will become more of a collaboration. And of course, when we say neurosymbolic, there's many different things. I'm not saying this is neurosymbolic. There's much more things happening now at the fundamental level of how you build LLMs. But I think you can also have lots of quick wins if you focus on reusing things at the level of building agents. Anyway, that was probably a little bit too technical and a little bit too fast, but I'm on my last slide, and my last slide is just recapping a little bit that I believe, I'm involved in AI, but anyway, I believe it's an exciting time, and I believe we get to shape how this new technology, this new AI thing is going to be part of our lives, part of our culture, our society. And I do believe that all this talk about AGI is really far away, and we've not, you need to do the physical world as well. Like we talk mostly about ChatGPT and computers, but to me, just as a joke, AGI will be real when you get an actual robot to operate in Athens and move around in the streets and run errands. And then, yes, maybe probably we have AGI. So anyway, that was for me. Hope you found it interesting.